I am making this video in support of the Women's Coalition campaign for the right to keep and protect our children. My name is Dahlyla, and I was the primary nurturing parent to my now 15-year-old son Aiden for the first 13 years of his life. Aiden was taken from my custody on January 7, 2014 after his father filed for custody in the state of Oregon when exclusive continuing jurisdiction had been enforced and established in the state of Washington in 2003. The state of Washington gave me sole custody of Aiden at the time of our divorce, and then affirmed it once again when his father attempted to change custody in 2005. I was accused of not facilitating a relationship between my son and his father. Judge Susan Svecki in Multnomah County, Oregon, used this as the determination to change custody after 13 years of me having sole custody in the home state of Washington, who had established and enforced exclusive continuing jurisdiction in 2003. I initially got only every other weekend and overnight every other week. Then, 5 weeks after custody change, my ex-husband filed a motion for supervised visits, which the judge approved. In August 2015, I tried to assert the order of my custody in Washington state, and it was approved to modify that order until Judge Susan Svecki entered a writ of assistance after judicial hours and enforced Washington courts to dismiss my motion in August 2015. Judge Svecki ordered less time through supervised visits with my 15-year-old son. It is going on 9 months since I've seen Aiden. I was also accused of attempting to gain sole custody, which I already had when I took my son to his doctor after he informed me of sexual abuse by his father when he was 4. Oregon CPS refused to investigate further, even though my son reported to them that he was in fact sexually abused. There were also reports of mandated reporters of physical abuse of my son while he was at his father's home. CPS said that they weren't ongoing, even though they were multiple times, and my son disclosed the abuse directly to them. CPS lied to me and said that my son failed to disclose, but after receiving a copy of the CPS reports, I learned otherwise. Oregon State CPS disregarded the fact that my son was being sexually and physically abused despite my son's statements and the statements of mandated reporters on numerous occasions. Judge Susan Svecki told me several times in court that I should not be concerned about my son's safety and removed my rights to speak to Aiden's doctors about abuse, even if the doctors expressed concerns themselves. Judge Svecki told me that she thinks that I overreacted when I took my son to the doctor after the report of sexual abuse. Judge Svecki also said that my son needs to man up and deal with the treatment she doesn't think she sees as abusive at his father's. Judge Susan Svecki didn't like the custody evaluation by our professional evaluator since he felt it was in Aiden's best interest to remain with me due to his father's lack of parenting skills. In turn, Judge Svecki ordered for Dr. Charlene Sabin, who is on the board of directors for Judge Svecki's nonprofit, to give her professional opinion. Dr. Sabin was paid for by a grant through Judge Svecki's nonprofit that she found being unused. Dr. Sabin, who is licensed as a pediatrician with the Oregon Medical Board, then gave testimony that was in line with Judge Svecki's desires. Dr. Sabin claimed that my son no longer had autism for meeting with Aiden after only 30 minutes and after she refused to speak to the 3 separate psychiatrists who had previously diagnosed him. Since all this began, I have been diagnosed with PTSD from the trauma and the continuous abuse by my ex-husband through litigation, stalking, and threats to my family. I am currently in therapy for my PTSD. My 3- and 5-year-old daughters, by my current husband, have also been in therapy for the trauma of losing their brother. My son Aiden, whom I haven't seen in almost 9 months, has been in therapy for depression after being removed from the only home he has always known. He tells his therapist that he wants to come home to his mom and reports the abuse at his father's home, but then his father changes therapists, severing the relationship Aiden establishes with them. Through these years of litigation, my family has been severely financially devastated. My husband and I worked 58 hours a week for almost 2 years and have nothing to show for it, because it all went to legal bills. We have lost all of our savings and retirement accounts, emptied the children's college savings, refinanced whatever we could, and now are $80,000 in debt. My husband lost his job of 8 years due to the stress this has caused us. I lost my housekeeping business as a result of the time needed to respond to the excessive litigation brought on by my ex. I see pictures of my son now, and he looks deeply depressed. He used to wear a big, beautiful smile on his face, when he was with me. On the last health record I had access to, Aiden was 44 pounds underweight, and yet no one does anything. His grades have gone from A's and B's while with me to now getting F's and D's. I comfort the tears of my daughters almost daily from the loss of their brother. Judge Svecki ordered for me to tell my daughters that Aiden lives with his father and will never return to our home. The damage that would cause them would be too great to comply. I don't need them to be involved any more than they have been, and they don't need to be reminded of the loss of their brother. It pains me that the court has denied my rights to keep and protect my son from the abuse we both suffered by his father. Aiden had his whole maternal side of his family removed from him. He has always been close with his grandma, grandpa, aunt, cousins, while he lived with me. All of us has been denied the right to even speak to Aiden since his father gained custody. Aiden and his sisters are being deprived of the relationship they rightfully deserve. My children are suffering all at the hand of a manipulative, controlling man, and the court who grants his many motions used to punish me for loving my child the way a mother should.